Welcome to the VA Today pod and videocast with your host, Gail Alexander, a podcast about VAs, for VAs and businesses looking for the right VA to help to grow their business. Find the right VA today and visit VA Today on YouTube and ava-ni.com to find out more about VAs and what they can do for you, and get in touch with the virtual assistants you need today.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the VA Today with me, Gail Alexander, and today I am joined with Kathie Thomas all the way from Australia, and so I want to thank her very much for giving up her Friday evening, well, not all of it, but some of it, to talk to me. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Gail, and you're most welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So Kathie is a VA trainer and also a VA from Australia, and who was set up quite a while ago, and possibly the first VA in Australia, and set up the VA directory. But she also has a few other interests and side projects with the Juice Plus company, and she's a keen photographer, and I have seen some of your photos. They are brilliant. And then also does a little bit of webmaster work. So you definitely wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, I do. When I started my business, which was back in 1994, the goal was just to be home for our 5 daughters. So I used secretarial administrative skills that I had. About 18 months later, I found out that the internet was coming to Melbourne, Australia, and I was encouraged to get on it by a Telstra technician, and Telstra is our telco company here in Australia. And so I got onto that, and for a long time I was just doing virtual assistant work and home-based secretarial work. But then I started to do my own website, and then I had clients asking me, who does my site and who do you do your hosting with? And so I sort of brought them on board. So my web hosting business grew by accident. That wasn't my original intention, but it's a nice sideline to have, and it provides a bit of a passive income for me, because out of all the clients that I've got quite a few that I do web hosting for and some design for. Only a very small number of them actually need hands-on help. But, all of them need hosting. So it's a nice side benefit for my business. And then, of course, once I started getting into web design and things like that, I was also starting to get back into photography, because I'd been doing that when I was quite young, like 14 years old. I started doing it. And when my kids were young, it was just family snacks and holidays. But as they got older and I had a bit more time to myself, I started to get involved in nature and gardens and stuff like that. So, being a web host and a webmaster, I could create my own websites, and it didn't cost me anything other than my time. So I've got websites for my photography. I've actually got 2 photography websites. One focuses on gardening, and the other one focuses on the area where I live, which is called the Dandenong Ranges. Yep. So, that, and then the Juice Plus thing. I was looking at your website before about Lean In, and 20 months ago, I was considerably heavier than I am now. I was wearing clothes that were 2 to 3 sizes bigger than I am now, and something snapped inside me. I was the heaviest weight I'd ever been. I needed to do something. My youngest daughter had joined this company called Juice Plus and said to me, "Mum, join me in it, come with me to the gym." And so I started learning a bit more about exercise and drinking water regularly every day. I drink 2 to 3 litres of water a day now. I exercise quite regularly, and going out with a camera is a great way to do it, because I do lots of walking, an hour walk with my camera in hand. And also eat a lot more sensibly now. So I've lost 16 kilo.
Wow.
I've still got more kilos to lose, but it's a good goal. I feel healthier, I'm fitter, my skin's in good condition. I've even lost the arthritis I used to have in my fingers and in my leg. I broke my leg a few years ago, so out on a nature walk. So I used to get arthritis in there too, but that's all gone too now. So yes, all of those things together just seem to work well for me.
Yeah, and so as you're saying, you wear many hats, but it's a lot of experience that you can pull back into a VA business, because I know a lot of businesses maybe look for, how do I say this? It doesn't sound rude, but world experience, because
Yes.
it makes them better sort of researchers or people to do their social media or that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
as a VA and a VA trainer and all those other different roles, what do you think makes a good VA?
Okay. A good VA needs to know how to use the software that they're going to be using and to provide the services they're going to provide. When I started out simply doing word processing, data entry into spreadsheets and databases, typing up resumes and letters and proofreading documents and that. I started with what I know. And I think a lot of VAs try to bite off more than they can chew too quickly, and they try to commit themselves to something that a client's asked them for that they've got no experience in, and that is the quickest way of losing confidence and losing customers. Start with what you know and build up from there. And I talked about all the various things I do at the moment, and you talked about all the hats I wear. But I want to point out to everybody who's listening to this, I have nearly 25 years experience as a VA. I celebrate 25 years next March. I didn't start to diversify and do all these other things until just a few years ago. Once my kids were off my hands, I had more time in the evenings and weekends, and because I've got a good solid business and a good client base, if I want to take off an hour or two during some days now and then to go off on a photography walk or to go to events of interest, then I can do that because I know I've got the time to do it. And as long as I meet my deadlines that my clients need, then that works.
Yeah. And so you were talking there, it's about confidence as well, because
clients don't often give deadlines. You actually have to ask them for it. When they give you some work to do, you need to say to them, when do you need this by? And that encourages them to set a date and a time, but also you can then start to work out how to work it around your other client work that you're doing and how to shuffle things around.
So it's a good tool for time blocking as well, because as you say, you're not going to have necessarily one client. I do at the moment just because I have young kids, but other people will have several clients, and so you really need to be quite strict on your time management. So
yes, absolutely. I still use a paper diary. And my favourite one at the moment is Personal Planner from personalplanner.com. It's got a hyphen between the two words. Mm-hmm. You can design your planner that you want. And my eldest daughter is a seamstress, and she makes bridal wear and formal wear and stuff. And she just fell in love with my planner, and that's what she wanted this year for her birthday present. So, we created together her planner for 2019.
Wow.
So, I have a paper diary, and my paper diary is my to-do list. I used to work in government departments many years ago before I started running my own business, and I did a time and management course during that time that I was there. So what I learnt back then, I still apply today very much. To-do lists that I tick off or, cross through every single day.
Yeah,
time to get. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll show you this is my diary.
Yeah.
You can see that I've crossed through things, things that don't get crossed out, get carried on. But I always make sure I do the most urgent and important things first. And sometimes important things aren't always the most urgent things, and you've probably seen that grid about urgent, important, non-urgent, non-important. And I tend to work to that basis. With a paper diary, I can carry it with me. I don't put it all on my phone. When I leave my office, that's it. My emails stay in my office. Most of the time, my business calls stay in my office. When I'm away from my office, that's it. I'm out of my office. I'm at meetings with people, and I like to dedicate my time with them rather than being distracted by my phone and other things. And so for me, it's just not been something that I've done where I've had all my calendar in my phone and all my emails in my phone. I just don't do that. And maybe I'm a little bit old school, but that's what works for me.
Yeah. And I think when you're saying it's having the confidence to do that, because as you say, it's maybe old school, but it's probably the better way to do it. If you're meeting clients, it means you give your undivided attention to that client. If you take it on your phone, like mine goes on silent when I'm talking with someone, if I remember, but I will not answer it. But I am still like paper old school as well, but I use my phone so I know, because I'm out and about with the kids running around. But having that confidence to be able to leave, my work emails don't come out with me, but it's having that confidence to leave it behind, because you need to be your person yourself as well. And I read a blog that you wrote recently. It's like, working at home is not always a good thing. You do need to get out and about and take a break. And it's a thing clients need to understand, that, you know, you're not available 24/7 to them. So how do you go about setting with your clients, you know, that kind of schedule and that boundary and that communication, that these are the hours I will work for you and this is when I'm available? What way do you go about doing that?
Yes, I definitely have boundaries for my clients. It's weekdays, Monday to Friday. I do not work on weekends unless it's absolutely urgent and it's been pre-organised. I don't even read client emails at night. I usually knock off somewhere between 5 and 6 p.m. And I just don't read emails at night. The odd occasion that I have, then I see something, I thought, oh, and, you know, I don't want to respond to them right now. Can I pretend that I haven't seen it? And then I end up lying in bed thinking about this email that I've seen. So it's better just not knowing until the following morning. Yeah. And my clients, you know, when I take them on board, they know that I work business hours Monday to Friday, and that's been my choice. However, in saying that, probably in the first 3 years of my business, I did work whenever, you know, the client work was there. So I worked 7 days a week, often night times. My kids were at school. So, you know, when they came home from school, I had time with them and dinner and played with them in the evenings, got them to bed, and then I'd be back in the office working again. And there were some times I was working on projects with deadlines where I was working till 1 or 2 in the morning. And I must admit, I probably did burn myself out in the first few years. But it was important to me to build that business and to build my reputation and to build trust with my clients. These days, the clients that I've got, they understand and they accept these are my working hours, and they just don't, you know, push it any further. They respect it, which is really good.
Yeah, because they're buying the service, which is you, rather than, you know, they can get somebody else to do it, but they know they want you, your experience, and they will accept your terms and conditions. And people just, you know, VA should know their value, know their worth, and be happy to set those boundaries. You know, you're running a business, not the business running you.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's just so important. And I think a lot of people forget that. They, you know, they get so consumed with their business, they don't know when to break away from it. And the articles that you read, that you mentioned, that I wrote just a few days ago, I wrote that as a result of a conversation that my husband was having with someone who's, you know, very new to working at home, and that person was finding it difficult. They were losing motivation, they were losing focus, and they were just feeling stuck inside their 4 walls. They needed to get out and go elsewhere. And he pointed out to this person how I belong to networking groups. I go out to networking events, how I've got my garden groups, I've got my photography club, I belong to Rotary, I go to that on a weekly basis. So I'm always making sure I get out of the house. My husband works at home at the moment, has done for over 2 years now. So for him, it's still a very new concept because he was working in the city for so many years and catching the train or riding in on occasion. And it's a 50-kilometre trip from where we are into the city. So, you know, he would occasionally get on his bike and ride into the city as well, and then ride back home the following day because it's like about a 2.25 hour ride. But, you know, he's still enjoying this new thing of working at home, and we've got each other to talk to because we actually share the office. He's got a desk just over the other side of this room, so we're together, you know, all the time. But for me, I need to get out, even if it's just walking around our garden. We've got a 2-acre property where we live. We live in the hills, 50 kilometres east of Melbourne. So we live in the hills in an area called the Dandenong Ranges. So we've got a 2-acre property. We've got gum trees. We've got kookaburras. We have wallabies and kangaroos come here sometimes, and wombats and echidnas, all native Australian animals. Lots of Australian birds. And being the keen photographer I am, I rarely ever go outside without my camera. But it's my break, even in the middle of the day, just to go for a walk for 20 minutes around our property, take a few photos, inspect a new flower, inspect a new plant, or watch. Like today we're watching a couple of ducks in our billabong. We've got a large pond that we call a billabong. It's got 2 creek beds that feed down into it, and there were 2 ducks in there bathing and just enjoying the water, and it was lovely to watch.
I'm trying to think, what exotic wildlife do we have here? The odd frog and a few birds, and maybe a cat, but that's really about it. It's not quite as exciting. It's funny when you said kookaburra, it just reminds me of a song we used to sing when we were in guides, the kookaburra sits, but I'm not going to sing, there's no way.
Everybody knows that song. It doesn't matter where they live in the world, it seems everybody knows that song.
Major flashback there. So yeah, you're talking about networking and getting out, and it was a conversation I had with like a coach, a mindfulness coach a while ago, and it's important for virtual assistants. Yes, they've chosen to work from home because it's a lifestyle choice and it suits and helps them. But it's really important to get out and network. And I was talking last night at an event that I was also filming, which is quite funny. But we were talking about how, I don't like networking. But when you actually go to it and realize that the room that you're in, people are quite often in the same sort of space that you are, the same sort of industry, or have gone through the same things as you, it's not as bad. And I encourage people to go out and network. It's not just always for business purposes, it's sometimes support. And so yes. Is there specific network groups that you belong to that are either VA based or, as you were saying, photography based? But what type of groups, online and offline, are you part of?
Okay, I'll share a few things. Online, I belong to quite a few VA groups. I belong to gardening groups. I belong to photography groups. I belong to business groups. The business groups and the VA groups are very much about business networking. The gardening groups and the photography groups are about passions and are an outlet for me away from work, and to enhance my skills with my photography and to increase my knowledge for gardening. When I go out, I have a number of different groups that I go to. For 15 years, I used to belong to BNI, Business Network International. I'm pretty sure you've got BNI where you live in Ireland, and BNI is worldwide. So anybody listening to this, if you check out bni.com, you'll probably find out about chapters in your own country, in your own cities. They are a regular weekly meeting, usually in the morning. Some meet at lunchtime or different times, but the majority of them meet at the morning. The idea is to spend 90 minutes together networking before the rest of your day starts. And it is about sharing and swapping business cards, giving a little spiel about your businesses and explaining what your business is about, usually 30 to 60 seconds. And you get a bit of guidance at BNI on how to do that. And then once in a while, you'll be asked to give a 10-minute presentation about your business, and you can do a PowerPoint presentation or bring flyers or props or whatever you want, depending on what it is you do. So I was involved in BNI here in Melbourne for 15 years. I'm actually in their Hall of Fame because I was involved with BNI when it first came to Melbourne, and with them for quite a long time. I left them probably about 3 years ago now, or nearly 3 years ago, because I got to the point where I felt like I'd learnt everything, done everything with them, and I wanted to break out of there and meet other people rather than the same people every single week. I've started up a business chat here in the hills. It's just called a Business Women's Chat and Cuppa. So, have a cup of coffee or tea or hot chocolate, cake, whatever you want. And we only meet for about an hour, maybe 75 minutes. And so it's all local business women. We meet at a local cafe once a fortnight, and we literally just talk about anything. If we've got a problem with our business, or we've learned about something in the hills, or last week it was gardening because most of those there were into gardens as well. And if they've got a problem with their business, we all brainstorm it. So at the moment, the group's fairly small. There's about 6 to 8 of us that meet, but it's great because, we just chat, and it's just women getting together, chatting. and it's an outlet for us all, but it's not intruding. It's not too intrusive on our business time, and then we can go back to our offices or wherever everybody's working, and it just sort of peps us up for the day. So that's one thing I do. Rotary happened because I wanted to give back to community, and the Rotary Club I belong to, I'm currently their president. I've been a member for about 2.5 years, and I got roped into being secretary not long after I joined them because I discovered my skills. And then I got talked into becoming president. So I've been president since 1st of July. What I love is that we're supporting local charities. We're also supporting international charities. For example, this morning I took 2 hours off from my business and actually went to a place about half an hour away from here, and we had 3 40-foot containers that we were packing, one with medical stuff that's going to Cambodia with a doctor that's sponsoring and supporting that, another one with kids stuff, so toys, books, school equipment, furniture, sporting equipment, and that's going off to Fiji. And then there was another one that I think might have been going off to New Guinea or somewhere like that. But we support international or overseas groups, and then we also support local charity groups. So again, I very much use my skills. I created their website for them. Have taught the current secretary on how to take minutes, so that they're decent minutes. I use Canva, and I'm actually creating business cards for them at the moment, and I've designed a flyer so we can have banners around the place so that people know our club exists. So the good thing is being able to use your own skills when you join a local group and bringing those skills in, not expecting anything in return. You're just giving out of the goodness of your heart. But amongst, a lot of the people in our Rotary Club, a lot of them are business owners or former business owners. So along the way, I've had different members ask me about my business, wanting to know if I can help them with something. So, that it's great when that happens, but I don't look for it to happen. It's there, and that's it. And then, I belong to a local photography club. So I learned a lot, from that group. And again, occasionally I get asked by a member, what do you do for work? And then when they find out what I do, I need some help with such and such, So opportunities are always there. But it's important to learn about other people, learn about what they do, what they need. And then when you're asked, or if you can see they have a problem and you can offer a suggestion, you can do that. And the one key important thing to do is whenever you're out and about is to always have business cards with you. Always. Never go anywhere without them.
I have handbag.
In my handbag, in my glove box of my car, sometimes in pockets of jackets. This is currently my business card. I designed this on Canva, then got it printed through moo.com. I used to actually have 4 cards. One for the VA, and then one for my web hosting, which I now got on the back of my VA business. I don't know how well you can see that. But and then I've got another one, which is for my photography. So that's one of my photography businesses, and then that's my other photography business. So I double-sided the cards, so now I've only got 2 cards instead of 4.
Because you must be like way down with all these cards that you're carrying about. Simplify.
Thankfully, they're light. But I also do a local market once a month, just up the hill from where we live, about 10 minutes away from here, and it's on the first Saturday of every month from 9 till 1. And I go there as a local photographer, and I have product that I've got. So I've got canvas prints and framed photographs and mugs and playing cards and jigsaw puzzles and notebooks and Christmas cards and all that type of thing. But I actually use that time for networking. And it's amazing because we get people, where I live is a tourist area. So we get people coming into the area to explore the area. So I'll ask them, do you live here? Are you local? If they're not, ask them where they live, find out what they do. and invariably chat to them and end up passing on business cards to them or point them to people who can help them. And those that are local, then I find out, oh, they're keen on photography. Well, we've got this photography club coming over here in Emerald. You can get involved in that. Oh, you want to give back to community? Well, I belong to Rotary. Come and join us at Rotary. So I use that whole time for networking, and I enjoy it. It's lots of fun.
Yeah.
And I sell a bit of stuff along the way.
But that's what I mean when we're talking about networking. It's not just solely for business, but business does tend to come back to you. If you're giving back to a community or an organization, you're finding out about what people need. And that's really what a role of a VA is. You're finding out what a business needs and helping fix their problems. So networking is kind of the same way. But when you say you're not really getting anything back, you kind of are, because you're getting experience. And it's just not paid experience, but it's experience. And so just make sure you enjoy it, because it's still valuable for anyone starting out. It's still possibly valuable work experience that they can put on their CV.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. When I was in BNI, I got lots of referrals, lots of regular referrals, and business came in, and a lot of those referrals I passed on to my team of VAs, because I run a team of VAs as well. I've got a VA network. But yeah, just meeting people, because I give out business cards, it's not uncommon to not get business straight away, but 2 or 3 or 4 months down the road, someone rings me up and says, oh, are you still doing I need? And that's where it happens. Business does come in. Or I might connect them with someone I know. And it's funny, most of my clients know me as a connector. I'm a sphere of influence. And if they're looking for something, they will contact me. My cousin in Sydney contacted me last night because she's just connected with me on LinkedIn and discovered that I know WordPress, and she's been trying to learn it. She goes, oh, I had no idea you're a WordPress expert. I need to know all this information. And then in sharing some info with her, then she started telling me what her fiance is doing and what he's getting into with his business partner. And then there's going to be possible opportunity for me to be able to work with them down the track. So I was giving some advice, but also showcasing what my abilities are. And then, in other ways, when VAs connect people with people, it is really good, because the businesses that you're working with or the clients that you're working with are benefiting, and they'll remember that you've connected them with someone, and they'll come back. They will come back time and time again. So it keeps you forefront in their minds, whereas normally they might have gone off to whoever else has suddenly happened along. So, VAs are very much about networking as well, and cross-promotion and helping their clients that way.
Yeah, and sharing, and a phrase that's come up a lot is collaboration and not competition, because what's good for the industry is good for yourself. So sharing, as you say, even though you're passing business on, but you're passing it on to somebody else, but that knowledge that you've done that you're the connector still is there and still comes back to you. So it's
absolutely, it's very much what goes around comes around, and I know that. It's amazing when suddenly something comes along just at the right time, because someone else heard about me from someone else. So networking is so important. Just talking to people, sharing your life, hearing about their lives, connecting people, being a promoter. And I guess that's one of the benefits, one of the key benefits to a client engaging a VA that is in their own region or their own state or their own country or county, as opposed to engaging a VA offshore. That would be one of the main benefits, is that clients benefit from the ability that a local VA has when it comes to networking and connecting.
Yeah. And as you say, it's just because it's virtual doesn't mean it has to be distance. It can be local. You can go and meet.
Exactly. Yeah, a large number of my clients all live in my state, and some of them only live half an hour away from me or an hour away from me, but I never actually see them. We do everything on a virtual basis. So yeah, it's amazing.
I'm just laughing at that because I'm just laughing at that because when you say half an hour to an hour, that's a long way away in my terms, but in Australia.
Whereas here, where I live, it's not. You know, for me to go down off the hill to go somewhere, it's a 15-minute trip.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And driving half an hour, an hour, you know, if you're traveling from this side of Melbourne to the other side of Melbourne, it's a good 2-hour drive or more.
Yeah, sure. I have been to Melbourne, and I have traveled through the blue Dandenongs. I can never say that right, and it is lovely, but it is a lot bigger than you imagine. But you're talking there about networking and how you find businesses. So if there's a business out there, how do you suggest is the best way for a business or an entrepreneur to find the right VA for them to work with?
Okay, well, they need to do their research, possibly talk to other business people they know to find out who might have used a VA, who do they recommend. And they can do Google searches. I generally recommend that clients look at virtual assistant networks or organisations where there are a multi-group of VAs, because when they put in their request, it's going out to several VAs, and then a number of those VAs can come back and respond to the request, and then they can gauge which VA might best suit their needs. It's like a one-stop shop. Instead of having to make multiple contacts, you know, contacting lots of individual VAs, if they're going through an organisation, it's just one request and then it's farmed out, you know, amongst all those VAs. But, you know, they could also go along to networking groups. As I mentioned, BNI, often BNI has a VA in a group, and, you know, they can learn about those as well. So it's about asking questions, doing your research, and having a clear idea of what it is that they want to be able to achieve in engaging a VA.
Yeah. And so when you're saying they need to know exactly what they want to achieve, what kind of tasks or projects or sort of tools or can be outsourced to a VA?
Well, you know, wide range of things. How long's the piece during, you know? Yeah, it's interesting, you know, and perhaps I should add, on people's websites, a lot of VAs just have a contact form and they forget to put their phone number. Or perhaps their, you know, email address or another, you know, way of clients contacting them. Not all clients have the ability to write something down, and they prefer to be able to talk to someone on the phone to explain what their challenge is or what it is that they need help with. So VAs in general should make it easy for prospective clients to contact them. Don't have just a contact form and no other form of contact. You should have other forms of contact. Now, you know, going on to that with clients, word processing, obviously, you know, data entry, managing databases, you know, managing spreadsheets, doing broadcast emails, managing your social media, maintaining your website, or perhaps even creating it from scratch for you. Editing, proofreading. I look after a number of authors, so, you know, I do editing and proofreading, and then I actually format their manuscripts for them and help them get covers designed and get them an ISBN so they can get books published. I've got some
get
photography.
first editions.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I've actually published books myself, so I've been down that road and know what's involved. So I quite happily help clients publish books and enjoy that process. I always enjoy getting the first print copy. It's like getting a new baby, you know, and it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Some clients need transcription work, and I've got a number of VAs that do digital transcription. Some clients need translations done from one language to another, and again, I've got a number of VAs who do that type of work. When I should go back to transcription, you can get court reporting done, you can get legal transcriptions, medical transcriptions, conference transcriptions, memoirs, autobiographies, police reports, insurance reports. There's a wide range of things that people might record that need to be transcribed. So, you know, that's something that's quite popular in the VA industry. PowerPoint presentations, database creation, graphic design. There are VAs that do, you know, graphic design. It's just so many things. Basically, the way I explain it to a new person who's trying to understand what a virtual assistant or a VA does is I explain it this way. Think about the corporate world when there's a boss in an office and he's got a personal assistant or a PA that looks after him. You know, she handles his calls for him or might, you know, look after the email or whatever, and, you know, manage his diary and all that type of thing. And then there are other people in the departments. There's your human resources department. There's your accounting or bookkeeping department. There might be your website department. There'll be lots of different departments in a corporate office. Well, when you think about it, these days there is a VA that can carry out any of those roles. I've even got human resource VAs in my team as well. You know, they're experienced human resource people. And so they manage that. I've got VAs that are experienced in the real estate field, so, you know, they can help realtors because they're familiar with the software and all of that type of thing. But just going back to the corporate boss and the PA, when the boss goes away on holiday, not on holiday, on a business trip, or is in another building, another state, another city, the way he communicates with his PA is via phone, fax, and email. And this is how clients can, you know, contact their VA, how they can maintain communications with their VA. And so, you know, documents might be downloaded off the web or sent via mail or sent as a scanned document, a PDF or image or whatever. But a VA is effectively their virtual PA and handles things the same way that a PA would in the corporate world when the person that they work for is actually in another location. It works exactly the same way.
Yeah. And as you say, the list is literally endless of what a VA can do.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about like how when they travel and how the tools that they use and how they communicate with their VA, a he or a she, but it's predominantly female.
Yes.
What type of tools and software do you use and you suggest are nearly the must-haves that any VA or any business that they really need to have to conduct business in this way?
Okay. Microsoft Office is the absolute first. I'd say 99% of clients use whether it's Word, Excel, Access, Outlook for email. You know, there are so many programs inside of Microsoft Office. So that would be the number one piece of software for VAs to use. But then it would also depend on what services they're providing. So if they're going to do specialised services, there may be software relating to that. So it could be bookkeeping software, could be web design software, excuse me. It really, really does depend. When it comes to other things like backing up programs or backing up data, I use Dropbox, and I think a large number of VAs use Dropbox, but some use Google and some use a whole lot of other different programs. There's so many different other tools available out there, but backups are so very important. Your hardware on your computer can quit, but if you've got backups of everything online or even on an external hard drive, then at least, you know, you can retrieve things, get another computer up and running very quickly and reconnect and download or, you know, retrieve. So backups are very, very important. Just trying to think. Broadcast email is a big one. A lot of VAs do that. I personally use MailChimp, but there's Constant Contact, there's Aweber, and there's tons of other programs out there that people can use. So again, you know, Microsoft would be the number one software tool, but then, you know, looking at how they're going to protect their data, keep it safe, and, you know, backed up, and then any specialist software relating to their particular service offerings.
Yeah, I think when you say that, it's everyone kind of thinks, oh, the tools, all these fancy tools and software that I need to do to start off. Well, you know, you kind of need to look at the building blocks, the sort of the foundation tools that you need. And so the likes of Dropbox or your hardware, sort of, and I both backing up are the most important ones, the sort of, I wouldn't say basic, but the basic starting points to get them in place, and then look at tools that you're comfortable with or what your clients prefer, and then educate yourselves in those. And if you don't know, you can always say to your client, I use this, and maybe switch them over, or just say, well, I don't know, I'll learn it. and make sure that they're happy with that. Because if they're not, they'll go somewhere else, and well, you know, that's not a problem because somebody will come to you. But it's sort of going with what you're comfortable with and what the client's comfortable with, I guess.
That's exactly right. Another thing that I often tell new VAs is, you know, when you're getting a new client, don't try and take on things you're not already experienced in. But once you do get to know the client and the client gets to know you, then if that client asks you to learn something new, that is not a problem because they already trust you. They know what your abilities are. They know what to expect from you. So if you're learning something new, you can either offer to service them at a reduced rate during that learning period time, or you can come to some kind of arrangement, or maybe they're going to purchase the software for you to use if it's specific software. Quite a long time ago now, I had a client. She'd been with me for a few years, and she was one of these clients that always had a brand new idea every single week, and she was always chasing wild gooses, and I was expected to chase them with her. It was probably about 2004 or 5, but she had been reading about blogging and heard someone, telling her about blogging. Oh, I need to get a blog. And of course, blogs were very new back then. And she said to me, Kathie, I need you to investigate blogging, learn how it works. So for me, if I'm going to learn how something operates, I need to create a project for myself so that I can make all the mistakes on my own project and then, start using it for the client afterwards. So I created a business blog for my, VA website. But my writing was very, very static and sort of very business and formal, and I just didn't see the benefit of it. And then Christmas that year, instead of writing the usual family Christmas newsletter and printing it out and posting it, I thought I'll have a go at doing a family blog, and I can do my Christmas newsletter on there and share some photos and see how that goes. Well, that particular year, just before Christmas, one of our cats went missing.
Oh.
And he was gone for 3-4 days, turned up just after Christmas with an injured paw. He was thirsty, he was hungry, dehydrated, because Christmas is summer here in Australia, and quite hot summers. And we came to the conclusion he must have gotten locked up in someone's garage or something, and they'd gone away for Christmas. No. And poor thing had been trying to dig his way out, and had almost pulled a claw off, off his claw, and poor darling. Anyway, we found a vet that was open during the holiday period, and they bandaged him up and treated him, and they put one of those collars on him so he couldn't pull at the bandage. And I took a photo of him, and he had his paw up in the air and this photo with his collar, and I posted it on our family blog telling my family what had happened. Well, overnight, I ended up with hundreds of comments from people saying, oh, is your cat okay? Tell us about your cat. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this was supposed to be just a family blog, and now the whole world knows about it. And I had worked out, when you write very personally, about, things of interest, and you're using keywords like cats, people do find your blog, and it's just really, really amazing. So once I hit on that, then I changed the way I was writing for my own business blog. Today I've got well over 1,000 articles on that blog in all sorts of categories and tags and topics, all to do with the VA industry. And I went back to my client and explained to her how blogs worked, and we got her blog started, but she didn't really get it for probably 2 or 3 years. It took her ages to really understand what blogs were about, whereas I'd gone through the experience and done, the research. These days, she's into blogging and everything like that. It's a lot more common. Yeah. But back then it was very much at the beginning.
Yeah. As you say, you need to put in a little bit of personality, because people don't want to be reading a static document. And it was kind of similar for myself. I was off of my second maternity with my son. And I thought, right, I have 100 days left before I go back to work. Let's write a blog to make me, well, 1, to just get practice and to see how it worked, and 2, to make sure I get out and do something. Yeah. So I wrote about the antics that I got up to with my son, and some of the stuff I put in there, it's just like, people must think I'm crazy. I had photographs of the ironing pile that grew and grew and grew. I talked about it moving into a different state. I talked about nearly biting my tongue off. Random things, but people really seem to like that stuff. And even though when you're writing about business topics and it's for a client, if there's still a little bit of personality, be careful with it, but it draws people in. People are more likely to read it. And it's the same with, as your business. You want people to come to you because they can relate to you. So you want clients that maybe have the same interest or the same outlook or the same values. So you need to write what's relevant to you and not be afraid of doing that. It doesn't have to be all very, very business-like. It's just put a little bit of personality in it.
Yeah. And when you're doing that, occasionally you can write something which can attract the attention of lots of other people, but you don't know that that's going to happen at the time. Like I mentioned about having multiple websites, also own multiple blogs, and probably about 3 of them I don't write to now, maybe occasionally, but they had a period where I was writing for a long time. 2 of them I've actually turned into books because of the audience interest of the blog posts. So I use those blog posts as chapters for the book and then added to the book. One of them in particular, I was like a mini Bible study on Proverbs 31, which is about women who work at home back in biblical times. And I wanted to bring her into the 21st century. And I wanted to talk very much about women working at home and being there for their children, which is basically, what we're doing. And so I was writing about it, but at that stage I hadn't understood that only a portion of the chapter is about the woman working at home. At the beginning of the chapter is actually some instructions to a king about things that he should or shouldn't be doing. And one of those verses actually talks about abstaining from alcohol because it can affect your judgment. Yeah. So I wrote about this in my blog post, and a few weeks later I noticed I had thousands of hits, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? And then I found out that a journalist in the US had actually linked to my blog because he was pointing his finger to a senator in Washington and about an alcohol problem. So he had inadvertently given me a huge audience. And as a result of that happening, and I spoke to my business coach, I ended up turning that blog into a book and putting it up on Amazon. And the book became a bestseller during that time. It was back in 2007. And, it was just amazing, all because I had inadvertently written about something. and I was,
That's quite funny. Writing about a Bible verse and then this happened. Yeah, you just don't know where it's going to take you.
No, you don't. You exactly don't. So, it is worth writing blogs. Definitely writing them on a regular basis. I tell my clients, for those that want blogs, to write at least monthly. It's about the regularity. It's not about how often. And it's not about quantity, it's about the consistency. So writing regularly. And I said to them, if you can't do it weekly or fortnightly, then do it monthly. And I can help you with that. Now, some of my clients will actually write 3 or 4 articles and give them to me, and then I can set them up and pre-schedule them on their blog. Others like to, log into their blog and do it themselves. Excuse me, and then they'll, might ask me to look for images. I've got accounts with Pixabay and free images, and some of those free image sites out there, which are also great tools for VAs as well, so that I can locate images for them to use so that they don't have the copyright issues, because I've had a couple of clients who've had those issues because they didn't understand, and, so I help them with that now. But, it's the regularity that's important, and a blog is very much about showcasing your expertise and your experience and your knowledge. So, if you're a VA with a website and you're trying to build your audience, it's going to take time. But if you're writing a blog regularly, that is going to help. It's going to help in a number of ways. As well as showcasing your experience and your expertise, it's actually going to help with your SEO on your website, because naturally you're going to be using some keywords relating to what you do. And Google is going to see that your site is current. Google does not like static sites. If you create a site and let it sit for 3 months, 6 months, months, 12 months, it's static as far as they're concerned. But if you're publishing a new blog post on a regular basis on the same space as where your website is, not on Blogger, not on WordPress.com or any of those other places, if the blog is contained on your website under the same domain name, then Google's going to see your website as being updated on a regular basis. And if nothing else, that's a great reason for writing a blog.
Yeah.
Now, some VAs may feel that, I don't know what to write about. Write about your experience. Write about case stories. Write about how you've helped this client, how you've helped that client, how you're involved in the community, or a story about how you learnt to do something. Or, as you were saying, you read my latest blog post, a story that you heard about someone else and how you can apply it, to your business. Read other people's blogs and see what they write and come up with ideas. It's not unusual for me to wake up with an idea during the night and then to scribble on a notepad beside my bed so that, I can write a story later on. And for a long time, I don't do it now, but for a long time, I used to dedicate Friday mornings to just writing blog posts, writing chapters of the 2 books that I've written, just writing. And I did that for probably a good 10 years or more. Now, I don't feel like I have to do it every Friday. When I want to write, I just write. But
you've quite a back catalogue of stuff that you can use. I don't think you need to do it.
Absolutely. and it's about developing habit. Everything's about developing habits, maintaining to-do lists on your diary, going out and photographing every day. So I'm, constantly using my camera. And writing, it is about developing habits, because when you develop habits, they become automatic. You don't have to think about them, and it's learning how to use the software. It's learning how to do different things, setting up, broadcast emails on MailChimp, using, a database program. The more you use something, the more something becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it.
It's like riding a bike, brushing your teeth, learning to drive a car. You don't
Exactly.
think about it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yep.
So, lastly, because we've talked lots and we could talk loads.
I'm sure.
Definitely, because so many things keep running through my head. I have to keep bringing it back and concentrate. Lastly, what piece of advice, and this is, probably throwing it at you, but what piece of advice would you give to a business looking for a VA or a VA looking for a business? What's the one sort of piece of advice that has stood you well in time in your business?
Okay. Perhaps realise that not all working relationships are going to work. Some clients can look for a VA and then discover that they haven't got the right VA and need to find another one because the personalities clash. And VAs need to understand that too. Not always that client that comes along is going to be the perfect client, the right client. And it's a learning process on both sides, for VAs to learn how to work with clients, for clients to learn how to work with VAs. So, it's important to spend a bit of a trial period. With any of my new clients these days, I always have a 3-month trial period with them where we're exploring. It's a honeymoon period. We're just getting used to how each other works. But if at the end of that 3 months, one of us feels like it's not working, we can pull the plug without it necessarily, thinking, the other person thinking, oh, what have I done wrong? It is, very much learning about working with personalities. I had a client late last year that I did work with for actually about 10 or 11 weeks. She worked in cybersecurity, and I was managing her LinkedIn profile for her, sending out, finding people that she should connect to, building up her profile so she had over 500 connections, doing her invitations to those people under her, guidance and all of that. And she was quite clear at the start what she wanted and what she was looking for, and she chose me as opposed to others for a couple of reasons. One, I've got a very extensive LinkedIn profile, and I've been using LinkedIn for about 13, 14 years now. And I used to be in the top 1% of, most viewed profiles. I don't know if I still am now, but I was back in 2014. I got a certificate for it too, which was really great.
Okay.
But the other thing she chose me for was my maturity, my age. And she said she knows she's not supposed to discriminate, but she didn't want someone young. She wanted someone who was older, who would understand, what she was looking for. And I must add, that's one of the great things about being a VA and working virtually is, if you've got a disability or there's something not, if you don't look right or whatever, most of the time clients aren't going to see you, so it's not going to matter as long as your ability's there. And it's the same for clients, if they're working, virtually as well. They don't have to worry about what people are going to think when they see them, because you're working on a virtual basis. But going back to what I was saying before, it's having that stopgap so that if something's not working right, you can pull out from it. And I could work out probably within about 5 or 6 weeks that working with this lady was not going to work. She was trying to micromanage me, and VAs don't need micromanaging. And I also got the impression she really needed a personal assistant, someone in her office with her, so that she could see what they were doing and be engaged in conversation with everything that they were doing, rather than a weekly meeting or me having to ring her when I wasn't sure about something. And so when I actually contacted her, it was probably about 10.5 weeks. I said to her, look, I don't think this is working out. I said I was going to wait until the 12 weeks. And she goes, you know what? She said, I was going to wait till the 12 weeks too, but now you've raised it. And she said, you know what? She said, I'm not ready for a VA. She said, I understand now what you were trying to tell me, and you're right, I need a personal assistant. I'll get one in the new year, which is what she was going to do this year. She said, later down the track, I can see I will need a VA, and would you mind if I actually came back to you? And I said, sure, that's fine. Okay. So, we parted amicably, which is a good thing to do. It doesn't always happen that way, but it was a good thing to do. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, because of my experience now, I can usually tell fairly quickly if I'm going to click with a client or not. But you can't always tell straight away. And it's the same for clients, they're not always going to know if the VA they've engaged is the right VA. So they just need to, I guess, anybody and everybody just need to accept that some personalities click well together, others don't. Learn to recognise that and be happy to move on without feeling any anger about it or resentment or anything. There's a lot of VAs out there. There's a lot of clients out there.
Yeah. And it's about, I guess, remembering it's business. It's not personal.
Absolutely. It is. Right.
Well, Kathie, I have really enjoyed talking to you. And as I said, I could probably talk for hours, and so could you. We won't subject the audience to that. Thank you so much again for giving up your time, because as you said, it's 5, 6 o'clock and that's it. So yeah. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for all.
You're most welcome.
And I hope to see you soon. And now I'm going to do some homework and find out your books. I have a bit of homework to do on my own website. I have a few more things to do on my to-do list. So I will let you go and enjoy your Friday evening, and I will hopefully talk to you soon.
And you're most welcome. You have a great day. Bye.